Well, good morning and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm not in the allotment at the moment, but we will be shortly. What I thought I'd do is I'd bring you down to the bottom part of the garden, which I discussed probably late last year, and the intentions that I had just to redevelop the bottom part. If you recall, our garden's made up of 3 different levels. So this is the bottom, there's the stairs there, which is the middle part, where we've got the hot tub and the seating area, and then at the top is where my bar is, and we've got another patio area and a barbecue area up there. So this border is the one that I'm wanting to redevelop. As you can see, I've already put the tree fern in there, and I also need to develop the middle area as well, and that needs some seeing to. But with me moving from reducing plots from 2 down to 1 over the winter period, I haven't had really much time to crack on with this, so I'm going to be bobbing in and out of this and making this good over the next couple of months or so. So I thought I'd introduce it to you now so you can see what it's like at the moment. I've done quite a bit. This border here that you can see with the stone sets, that was way back here and it used to go all the way around the back here, so it was quite a small border, but what I've done now is I've widened it. One of the reasons I did that is because the sun comes up there and goes all the way around this way and sets at that side, and this grassed area was starting to come a little bit mossy, so I want to try and bring it in a little bit and introduce more plants. There's a barrel at the back that holds water. It's got a plant in there at the moment and it's got a pump. The big barrel at the top is going to be moved. Don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'll be thinking of something, but I certainly won't be getting rid of it. I'll be upcycle it in some way. But that pond area there, I've been gathering rocks and bits of stone that I've found on various areas or on jobs, and what I want to do is just build that front area up and around that side up, so you don't really see much of the actual barrel itself. You won't see much of the pond really. What it'll be is there just for me to turn the pump on, so when we're sat in the garden of an evening we can hear the water. So I'll quickly just give you a scan round and give you a closer look, maybe from the middle area, so you'll get an idea of its size. And then once we've done that, we'll get down to the allotment because it's busy down there. So I'm on the middle area here. This bit here needs sorting out, so I'm going to be concentrating on that around to this side. This border here is pretty much okay. It's got some really lovely ferns in, as you can see there, that are just starting to set the fronds. So that area is pretty decent. I've just, as I say, got to get rid of that barrel and sort that out. But as you come down these steps here, you start to see the bottom area, and that bed is the one that the main work's going to be done on. The small borders around the sides are not too bad, but as I say, I've been distracted. I've not been able to do anything over the winter period. I'm going to treat this lawn and get that back up to scratch, but I won't be using a mix that uses moss killer, as I've found out that the moss can be gathered up by the birds after you've treated it into the nests, and then it can actually burn some of the birds, so it'll just be a weed and feed. Right, I'm going to finish this brew and then we'll jump in the van and we'll get down to the allotment. And welcome to the allotment, where today I think I'm a little bit underdressed for occasion. It's a little bit chilly at the minute. Where today I'm going to get my onions split and planted out. And I'm also going to look to put in the sweet peas, and also I may put in some of the spring onions. And what else is there? And there's also the beetroot, which is going to go in the raised beds over there. Now I know that we've got a couple of weeks where we can still get a sharp frost, so I'm going to bear that in mind, but I do have lids to go over the top of them, so I might put those out as well today. But first of all, let's crack on and get these in. So this is the bed that the red onions are going to go into, and as you can see, I've prepared it, I've gone through it, I've weeded it, and I've also firmed it down with a board, because the onions like to be on the firm surface, and when I put them in, I'll also make sure I firm them down, just to stop any root rot as the onion develops. So what we've got to do is get these split. So I'll bring you in for a closer look, and you can see how I go on with that. Right, so these are Carmen, and I'll just stick that label there. And what I did last night is I gave them a little water just to get them damp, and now all I'm going to do is stick them out of the pot, and as you can see, that's developed a really good root system. And all I'm going to do now is just try and split them apart like so, and then what I'm going to do is just tease out the onions like so. This method does give the onions a little bit of a shock, so don't be surprised that they sulk for the first few weeks. It is quite worrying when you see them, because they look as though they've given up the ghost. But that's just for a couple of weeks, and then once they start to settle down and get the roots in there, they will bomb on. Now, reds are prone to bolting, but you've more chance of them not bolting if you grow them from seed. Onions don't mind a little bit of cold. There's plenty of root on there. As long as I give them a good watering, we should be fine. We're set for some fair weather next week, 25 degrees. So I've got to make sure that these are well and truly watered every day for the first at least week to 10 days. Right, I'll finish spreading these and then we'll start to lay them out. Right, so what I've done now is here's my measuring stick, and the red onions I want to give quite a bit of space to. So there's going to be 35 red onions going here. That'll leave around maybe 4 or 5, 6 spare. I'll just plant them up. Maybe plant them where I put the spring onions, not the spring onions, the shallots. But yeah, I use this stick, so it's that far apart. It's around a foot either way as they go down. So 35, and then all I do is I just dib a little hole, and then I put the onion in and really give it a good firming round. Unfortunately, my remote for the camera is playing up, so I'm having to come back round and turn it off manually, so forgive me if I'm a little bit slow today. So I've split the onions up, as you can see. There we go, and let's just start to get them in. Start at this end, Get as much of the root in the hole as you possibly can. And then give them a good firm down. Unlike the leeks, you do firm these in. Leeks you tend to just leave to bury the cells when you water them. But these, give them a really good firm. Get this first row in. I know where I am. Right. And there we go. That's the first lot of onions in, and all that remains now is to give them a really good watering in, and probably in about a month's time I might sprinkle a little bit of chicken manure on there once they start to sit up again. But they will, as I say, no doubt flop down and look totally uninterested, but normally they bounce back. Right, let's move on. As you can see, I've brought out the cannas and all the dahlias into the sun shelter just to start hardening off a little bit, and I've started to prep the greenhouse soil ready for the sweet corn, the tomatoes, and fingers crossed the melon and cucumbers. So these are in here for now, but the next things that we're going to plant are my sweet peas. These are busting to get out, so I'm going to get these out. And what I've done is I've put 3 wigwams up down the plot, and they're actually in the beds. So one of them is in the onion bed, and all I'll do is I'll just plant these round them, and then I'll put these in and I'll just plant the onions around them. It's just to give it a little bit of height, a little bit of variation. So let's get these out. So here's one of the wigwams, just 4 canes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a net around these, just so that the sweet peas can climb up it. I'm going to put 2 on each set of canes. As you can see, you might be able to see, there's one just to the right there, and then there's another one just behind the bean frame, should I say. So these are dying to get out. As you can see, there's plenty of root ball on there, a lot of white roots, so I'll just tease those and let's get them in. Something very satisfying about starting to put the plants in that you've nurtured for so long, and you're hoping and anticipating that they go well. So all I'll do, whatever crops in this bed, I will just plant around this, but it's just to introduce a little bit of height, a little bit of colour, and a little bit of scent to the allotment. Right, there we go. That's the first one. Let's crack on and get the other 3 done. Other 2 done, should I say. So there we go, a net around that one, and a net around this. What I've been careful not to do is to make this net go down behind here and force the sweet peas to stay in there. What this will do now, it finishes there and it'll allow the sweet peas to come out to the outside and on the inside. So I've just got to keep an eye on it and keep them trained up. And then finally, those garlic are looking great, aren't they? They are looking brilliant. And you know what I've done different this year that I'd never done before is, instead of planting them in October, I've taken into account how mild it can be in October, and we planted those a month later, towards mid-November, and we got them in the ground just in time, and just as they started to shoot through the soil, we started to get the frosts, and I think that's been timed really well this year. But the proof will be in the pudding when we look to pick them. And there's the final netted sweet pea canes. So I'll just walk you around this way. My lawn has started to knit. He started to green up after that feed. But if you look from here, straight in front of you, we've got the bean cane there. The sweet pea. What do you call them now? I always get a brain fart. What are they called? Wigwams. Sweet pea wigwams. You can see there's one there. There's one just there. And then the other one's just there. So that'll be a picture once they've grown up and scrambled their way to the top of those. Okay, so we're back in the greenhouse and I've got 2 trays of beetroot. I'm going to put them out today and in one of the raised beds, and what we'll do is we'll keep a sharp eye on the frosts and make sure they're covered over on an evening. But they've come on really well, and if we take a look, they're ready to go in. So let's get them across there. So the beetroot are going in this bed. I'm going to pack them quite close together. In the past I've just sown these and just tossed them in a bed, and they've all been close together and they've formed clumps, but they still grow. So I'm not going to be too careful here. I'm just going to get them close as I can, allowing them enough room to grow. And as I say, across the way I've got my perspex lids. If needs be, we'll put the lids on to protect them from frost. Right, armed with a trusty dibber, I'm gonna see if I can just push these out. I planted 2 or 3 beetroot per cell tray. At the end of the day, they'll sort themselves out. And what I'm going to do is put alternate rows with this bolt-sided beetroot and this golden beet. Right, so like I say, that's very hard. So in goes another one in there. Another one in there. My second sowings after these is taken is when ever a bed comes spare, I will then just liberally scatter beetroot in. beetroot is one of the superfoods, and I certainly love it. I don't like it pickled. I don't understand people that like it pickled. I suppose everybody's got the taste, but all you tasting is vinegar. You pickle it. Don't get it. Right, I'm gonna go, like I say, alternate until they run out. Right folks, I don't want to bore you, so what I'll do, crack on doing this. Oh dear. And I'll show you the finished article. So there we go. That's the beetroot in. Again, another water. And as I say, just be wary of the frosts. I'm just too short there to make up a full row. Does me head in a little bit that. I could actually split one of these plants up and put that in there. In fact, I'll do that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get the spring onions into here. So let's crack on. So, same again with the spring onions. Let's tap them out of the pot. There we go. And let's just split them up. And all I'm going to do is bob them in the holes that I've made. There's one. I don't mind doing this. I don't find it tedious at all. It's really good because I can see that I'm getting stuff out. Still got a nice bit of root there, plenty of root. As long as we keep them well watered these first few days until they start fending for themselves. These are the spring onions, and I think they're ramrod. And then I've got some red ones, but the germination rate on those weren't as good. So I'll put them in towards the end of the bed. Right, leave them to crack and I'll be back. So there we go. That's the spring onions in. There's around 70 odd in there, 75, something like that. And they're just the ramrod. As you can see there, I've not planted the red spring onions yet. There's only a few on there, so what I'm going to do is probably put those in a pot and maybe have them on the doorstep at home. So that's the spring onions sorted. So I managed to get the Ailsa Craigs in this bed here and watered in. I've planted the Ailsa Craigs a little bit closer than the red onions, simply because I had more. But I have still got a clump left here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill one of my gabion baskets with some of the compost out of the compost bay, and maybe a nice fresh bag of compost, and I'll put those in. So I've watered everything in. The sweet peas are watered in. I've watered the garlic. Sweet peas here are watered. Same again over there. And these three beds now have been planted up. So we've got the parsnips here, which were the transplants, the direct sown parsnips here, and the red sun shallots here, and also the spring onions, the red ones. I put them at the side. So they're all watered in. I've watered the garlic. Now this garlic will be coming out in the next, I don't know, probably 4 to 6 weeks, maybe a bit more. But in there, in between, I've dropped some of the red onions that I had spare just down the centre. And I'll just be very careful when I'm harvesting the garlic to make sure I don't disturb the onions that I've planted in between that I had left over. So as you can see, all the beetroot's been watered in. Spring onions over there. That bed is for lettuce, which has been my big failure so far this season. And I can't remember what these two are for. I've got my hose pipe on and it's filling my water butts as we go. Right, let's get across into the greenhouse. Right, so I think that's bringing me towards the end of another video. Got quite a lot done. I've got a little bit of watering to do of the cannas and the dahlias. I'll do that before I go. And look at this, what I did the other day whilst I was bored. I pricked out those lobelia and my shaky hands. It was a task and a half, I'll tell you now. I also, those ones there that I've just shown you are trailing lobelia, and these ones are just normal bush type. So you can imagine me with my shaky hands trying to do that, but I managed to get it done. So everything's looking good in the greenhouse. Everything's looking good on the plot. And I think that I'm going to be, within the next half hour or so, shooting off home. My son's coming down and my son-in-law to watch the boxing tonight. And I haven't told you about Leeds United, have I? Leeds United promoted, now in the Premiership. So fingers crossed that the board dip into the pockets and get a couple of new players in that can just hold them and maintain them in the Premiership for the next couple of seasons. It was announced by the local council that there's a shovel-ready building scheme ready to go at Ellen Road to expand it to, I think it's 56,600 seater stadium, and all the paraphernalia that will go with it. There's going to be retail outlets and everything. So it's a really good opportunity for the city to kick on. We've just got to be able to maintain its place in the Premiership and get that stadium built. So congratulations to Leeds United, and I'm now wishing for Arsenal to get through to the Euros, the UEFA Champions League final, and to win that. And that'll top off a great season. Right guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, for those that have. Those that haven't, hit that button if you can, it'd be much appreciated. I'll be back midweek. There's more stuff to go out on the plot, and I've got 1 or 2 things to sow still. I've not sown my turnips yet. My courgettes I'm going to put in probably tomorrow. So there's still 1 or 2 things that we've got to get going. So anyway, I'm babbling. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Everybody take care and happy growing.